Yeah, just like 130 people. Well, they're on that trip over.
We're gonna go up into Hernando, then we're gonna go across 52. Go all the way up.
Yeah. No, it's
Actions that aren't even done yet.
mine too.
You know, it's funny though how much Carla actually did.
Carla, back to Carla? Wow.
So one of our public records.
Yeah.
RGIS. Probably got an application for one of those.
Yeah. Yeah, if we're ready to roll, we'll go ahead and get started.
Every month it's a change.
Let me know when you're ready. Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. This is the Monday, March 8, 2021 Technical Advisory Committee meeting. We'll just go down our agenda. Welcome, everybody. For those, we do have our quorum, 6 folks here today, and I know we have a number of individuals on the phone. Thank you for participating virtually at this meeting. And I'd like to introduce Audrey from sitting in the front row from Zephyr Hills. She's one of our community planners, historic preservation planner, grants person. She does it all. We'll go ahead and get started with the agenda. Do we have any public comment or anybody on the line from the public that we need any comments?
We have no one at the kiosk for public comment.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to the approval of the minutes. These are the minutes of the meeting of January 11, 2021. If everyone could take a quick look at those and see if there's any comments, changes, or recommendations on those items. If not, do we need to do a motion to approve these? We'll call for a motion to approve these minutes, please.
Approve, Melanie Romioli.
Thank you, Melanie. Okay, so the minutes of January 11, 2021 have been moved and seconded. Approval, raise the right hand. Okay, is that good or should we do it by names? I'm sorry. Well, that's right. Okay, thank you. Could we start, Cynthia, with you?
Sure, aye. Cynthia Spino. Melanie Romioli, aye.
Todd is aye.
Venkat Vadikudi, aye.
Oh, okay.
Hunt is aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Do we have a report on the MPO board actions from February 11th?
So everything on here is basically what was on the board meeting on February 11th. So everything that you're going to have an action item was on there as well. So
No further additional items to bring up then. Okay. Well, hearing nothing more, we'll go ahead and proceed to the action items. We have a number of those. The first item under A is DOT TIP amendment for this fiscal year for transit planning funding.
So that's why there's 132 pages in your packet. So that first one you can see is for an amendment to our transportation TIP for this coming year. So that's that one. And again, it's in there. And then the next one basically is the transit funding, which is our joint participation agreement for the UPW. We try not to do too many amendments, but we try to do them all at once based on what we're doing throughout the year. So both of those are basically those 2 different grants where we made amendments to fit what we're coming up in the next coming year for. So those are both of those. And again, I'm here because Tania couldn't be here because yeah.
Thank you for filling in. Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Kurt's online.
Kurt, do you have anything you'd like to add to, well, I guess the first.
There he is. He unmuted.
So I'm fine. I'm just sitting here listening and so forth. One thing, don't we need to do a roll call before we go forward?
I don't think it was a decrease. I will get with Lori, and Lori's actually on there if Lori wants to help answer that at all.
Yes, this is our standard transit funds that come in. We received $160,069. So that's why we did the amendment to the UPWP to show that we received that money in. And of course, we have to reflect it in the TIP as well.
Okay. Well, I guess there was a Tina made about doing roll call. Would you like to do that just so we have that for the record?
So roll call, I think other than Kurt being on there and Craig and everybody else, those are only two that I have that are virtual that aren't here. So we can do that roll call starting with you guys here and then those that are virtually as well, for the record.
Okay, was there any other comments or input on the first item? We'll start with A. Hearing none, this is an action item, so we'll call for a motion. Thank you, Debbie.
I'll second it.
Thank you,
When
Ben.
Cat wanted it.
Okay, we'll vote on the motion. We'll start with you again, Cynthia.
Cynthia Sparrow, aye. Melanie Romagnoli, aye.
Todd is aye.
When Cat Wadikudi, aye.
Christine Hunt is aye.
Kurt,
Do the other board members
I'm sorry,
like
could-
to?
Kurt Scheibel, aye.
Thank you. Is there one other?
Craig?
Greg?
Nope, he's, all right, we're good, we're
Okay.
good. So that's it.
That's it. Okay.
No one else on there. Sorry, Craig. I
Okay.
just saw a name there and no, she's staff.
Okay.
Thank you,
that's
guys.
approved. Well, we also heard these first two items run together. Are there any other comments or questions either by the board or anybody online concerning item B, which also deals with transit planning funding under the UPWP? This amendment is for $169,049. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll call for a motion. Debbie?
I'll second it.
Venkat, seconded. Cynthia?
Aye. Melanie Romagnoli, aye.
Todd, aye.
When Cat Wadikudi, aye.
Christine Hunt is aye. Kurt Scheibel, aye.
Thank you,
Probably
Kurt.
too late to ask the question, but why is one of the numbers 160 and the other one 169?
It's the same thing.
That is a typo. It is $160,069.
Good question. It was a typo.
First to ask.
Zero and a nine.
We probably should amend the message just to be clear on the amount.
Perfect.
I second the amendment.
Okay, so we've had a motion, a second to reflect the actual amount. Cynthia?
Cynthia Sparrow, aye as amended. Melanie Romagnoli, aye as amended.
Todd Vandenberg, aye as amended.
When Cat Wadikudi is amended, aye.
Christine Hunt is aye as amended. Kurt Scheibel, aye as amended.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. Item C, Pasco County MPO System Performance Report and Safety Targets 2021.
So this is Channing from ACOM that will be making this presentation.
Morning, Channing.
Good morning.
I can do it for him since I'm a pro at that now. Just let me know when.
So I'm Channing Bickford from AECOM. I help the MPO with basically reviewing and developing the PM1 standards and targets for 2021, the highway safety performance measures. Next slide, please.
Let me try it one more time.
So these standards are sort of not the same safety standards as are in the LRTP, also not quite the same thing as what we've been doing with Vision Zero or some other planning efforts. This is very specifically a federal requirement that all MPOs across the nation need to develop these standards and look at the safety trends across their roadways. This is developed with data that is given to every MPO by FDOT, and it's developed looking at the 5-year rolling averages. So it's an average number, so it's kind of an annual number, but it's looking at that number across the past 5 years and then examining that trend kind of across that time period.
Blinked. Got some technical difficulties.
Now you know why we have 132 pages in our.
So dead.
Plug back in. Is it plugged in? Is it turned on?
And if it does work, we have no idea why it does this time. That's just how PowerPoint works.
Brain part.
Yeah, actually, I'll go back one slide. I covered a little bit too much material. So these requirements cover 5 categories. So we have the number of fatalities, the rate of fatalities per 100 million vehicle miles traveled. So looking at how many fatalities we have compared to the amount of driving, the number of serious injuries, and then the rate of serious injuries per 100 million vehicle miles traveled. And then finally, the number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. So those are the 5 categories that we kind of examine and set targets for the coming year. Next slide, please. So as I already mentioned, not quite the same thing as what's developed in the LRTP. This is very specifically for these federal requirements. This is tied to whether an MPO gets funding or not, simply adopting these, not necessarily reaching them. So that's why this is important. Another thing to note is that the guidance states that states and MPOs need to kind of develop realistic and achievable standards. They kind of encourage you not to develop really aspirational targets. So we want to keep some numbers that are in keeping with current trends and not showing some drastic changes that are not necessarily achievable. Another thing to note is that these figures are, the 5-year figures are through 2019 for this round. 2020 figures are not included in this, so we will not see the impact of COVID on driving, fatalities, speed, or injury. That would be in the next safety standards that we adopt next year. Next slide, please. So on this slide on the left, or perhaps on top in your packet, is the number of fatalities, average annual fatalities. And you can see that this number has been rising and continues to rise in the this last period. On the right, or perhaps below in your packet, that is the rate of fatalities. When you take into account the amount of driving that's happening, there is still an increase in fatalities, but that increase is at a slower rate, at a lower rate, which is an encouraging sign.
Looks like, Channy, from 2014 to 2019, that's leveled off a little bit, which is encouraging.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Next slide, please.
How's that compare to like the region or to the state?
That's a good question. I have I think 3 or 4 more slides, and then I will get to that answer. This is the number on the right for serious injuries across these periods. As you can see, for the last 2 periods, this number has declined. If you kind of add in the amount of driving that's happening, it's declined at a faster rate over the past 2 periods. And this again is an encouraging sign that we're seeing kind of a decrease in serious injuries on the roadway, and a decrease when it's kind of looked at by the amount of driving going on. Next slide, please. And this is something just kind of an aside, just to look at how much increase in driving there has been. There's been quite a bit of growth in Pasco County for driving, basically kind of since the end of the last recession. You can see that on the roadways in the development around the county. And that's something that is kind of driving some of the growth in fatalities. It's just you have more people on the road. Next slide, please. Looking at bicycle and pedestrian or non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries, there's been a slight increase in the last period up until 2019. And this is something that I'll talk about a little bit later. Some efforts the MPO is implementing to try to combat some of these serious injuries and fatalities. Next slide, please. Here's a comparison for this last period, so 2014 to 2018, and then 2015 to 2019 for the state of Florida, kind of on the left, and then Pasco MPO on the right. The trends are similar. The Pasco County's rate is generally a little bit higher. So if you look at number of fatalities in the last period, it's gone up by 6.2%. For Pasco, for the state, it's gone up by 4.6%. The rate, though, is very similar. Rate of fatalities, again, there's been an increase in driving in Pasco County, so that 1.5% growth. That's lower than the actual number when you add in the driving, all the driving that's happening. Serious injuries, both number and rate, have decreased, which is similar to the statewide figure. For non-motorized injuries, serious injuries and fatalities in Pasco, a slight increase, statewide, a slight decrease. Next slide, please. So the main kind of event of preparing these standards is the adoption of the standards going forward. And these are the 2021 recommended targets for adoption. This is what the MPO board actually adopted in February. And this is basically just the number for the 2015 to 2019 period. We don't want an increase in any of these categories. We want to see it level out or decrease. And that's what these targets basically are saying. Next slide, please. So kind of the where the rubber meets the road as far as how is the MPO addressing safety. In 2019, 2020, Pasco received over $2 million for safety improvements. And then in addition to that, there's two sort of major efforts going on to address safety. The first one's Vision Zero. Phase 1 started last year and had some community engagement, education, and observation sort of activities, looking at how people use the facilities in Pasco County, trails, crossings, things like that. Phase 2 is kicking off this year and is focusing a little bit more on community engagement and continuing to kind of push out that message. One thing that we developed in Phase 1 was a video that's being sent out. It was on My Pasco on the TV. We're talking to the school board about getting it out to help students understand that it's darker in the mornings after the time change that's coming up next week, and you need to be visible, you need to be alert when crossing the road. Finally, active transportation plan, which we're working on developing now, just looking at Pasco County in terms of a network for pedestrians, cyclists, and other non-motorized road users, and kind of stitching the county together to give a really good network for these multi-use trails, kind of capitalizing on the assets that are already here and creating a really great kind of system. So any questions or comments about the targets?
So when you talk about fatalities, you talk about like if it's a lighting issue, what the condition is. There are improvements underway to make collections about safety and US 19 as well as state law. And then in terms of the safety improvements, we have been very proactive and we a lot of funding for lighting improvement and there's been block crossings, there's a lot of activity going on US 19 as well as so in this report, does it talk about any of these things?
So for the first question, the figures on fatalities come from FDOT, and really for this, it's just a look at the number, basically. Now, the Vision Zero, the active transportation plan, that's where we're going to be able to drill down a little bit and identify problem areas, what crashes we're seeing in those areas, and what the contributing factors might be, whether it's lighting, a lack of safe crossings, or a lack of education. The safety improvements and lighting that you had mentioned earlier, that's included in that $2 million sort of improvements that are there. And then US 19 and some of the things that are happening there. I know that that's a specific area that Tina and us, we've been looking at that area as well. I think that's going to be going a little bit more into Vision Zero and the active transportation plan. Tina, do you want to say any more?
Yeah, actually, the 2 million, I'm just thinking probably that is because of the 4 mid-block signal, actually new signals that are happening on US 19 to enhance the pedestrian crossings, and also they did some lighting improvements along US 19. All those things probably, because if you are talking about the 1920 fiscal year, which is in the last June 30th, I mean, I don't think the improvements about the lighting and everything came in as a part of this.
Casey Kersey with AECOM. Tania provided that amount, VinCat, just as she was looking quickly, more or less to say that this is not new, the county's been working towards safety, and you've been applying for those funds all along. So she gave me the 2 million, just looking back at some tip amendments, really not trying to be substantial, Deborah, of a total amount. It was just to let the CAC know and the board know that the county's already actively doing this. It's not as if suddenly we're not partaking. So I didn't mean to distract anyone with the 2 million, but that's the figure Tania had looked up quickly one day when we were working on the PowerPoint slide. So I think I'd even remembered almost 5 million in discussions over the last couple of years, but that's what she gave me. So you don't want to make that a hard and fast number. Yeah.
Like I said, this is only up to June 30th of 2019.
2019, correct.
Yeah, it was 2019. And as Channing said, we're not provided any of the details. It's just a number that we get from central office to try to track and then kind of let you know. And then that's where you can use your other plans to start diving into it.
Is there any other comments or questions, either here or anybody that's online? Okay, well,
Great, thank you.
Is this anything, it's an action item there? Is it just for information?
It's an action item.
We do need to take a motion. Okay, we'll call for a motion on this. I guess this is going to the MPO next.
It already went to the MPO.
Oh.
So, and the CAC, and BPAC, I think you guys are the last group to hear about it. And again, it's just this table that's really been presented. We're really going to drill down quite a bit. In fact, we'll have that little bit of discussion on the next action item as we go further down. But yes.
Okay, we'll call for a motion on this item then.
Move to approve, Mrs. Melanie.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll start at this end this time.
Christine Hunter's aye.
Venkat Wadikudi, aye.
Todd Vandenberg, aye.
Melanie Romagnoli, aye. Vidal, aye.
Kurt Scheibel, aye.
Thank you. Item is approved unanimously.
So that does bring us to the next item, which is the development of our active transportation plan. And we have two different task orders that kind of go along with that. One is with AECOM and the other one is with Tyndall Oliver. AECOM is here, but we've split it up mainly for using AECOM's expertise in one area and using Tyndall Oliver's expertise in another area. And a lot of this is Pasco's first active transportation plan. What we're going to do is get a lot of information and put it in the data in so we can start really figuring things out. we're gonna look at some of those crashes that we were talking about. We'll drill down. We've been doing that with our Vision Zero. We'll really drill down and look at locations, hotspots. We'll look at the types of crashes, whether it be bike ped. And again, Vision Zero is about all users. So we're gonna drill down. AECOM's gonna help us drill down. Tyndall Oliver, which is the next action item, they're gonna do our mapping. We have a lot of facilities that we've been trying to play catch up on as far as multi-use paths, bike lanes, all those different things. So Tyndall Oliver is gonna help us update all our facilities in a mapping system so we can see where those gaps are and where we can make those connections. But if Casey wants to add a little bit to that, she can. And again, we split it up into 2 different groups based on expertise and what we need to start our first active transportation plan.
Casey Kersey with AECOM. And what I'll add in for Tina is, so right now the active transportation plan will be a new plan that the MPO creates. So what we're doing right now as staff is we're updating the public participation plan to roll that into that. So the work that AECOM will be doing and then Tyndall Oliver will be doing doesn't kick off the plan. We will come to you on the design of how we might conduct a plan as an MPO and get everyone's input. We're just using this time while we can to start collecting everything to set the MPO up for when they officially decide how they're going to put the plan together. So nothing has started. There hasn't been any plan outreach. We don't have an official plan until I can get it into the public participation plan and adopt it by June. And then you'll get a whole procedures of how we want to do that. For Tyndale, they already, from doing the LRTP, have so many of your GIS files and data and traffic already in there. That's the part they're starting to do, is to collect and see what files are available through all the cities, the county, the DOT, and be ready for the MPO to decide how they're going to kick that off in July. So we're really just doing background work right now.
And the AECOM, that's predominantly for hotspot crashes with cars,
right now
bikes?
I'm researching, doing like I usually do, reading and writing. So I'm researching all the existing plans that are out there, identifying with the MPO, who's got plans, are they getting updated this year themselves? So we need to know if there are already trail locations we're unaware of. We'll be talking with Kurt for transit, anything changing for shelters or stops that we're unaware of, because an active transportation plan is all users versus a traditional bike ped plan. Active is all modes, all users, and how they interact together. So you're looking at the bigger picture. So transit is in there, how the cars are interacting with people crossing as well as the trail. It's really looking at the system a little bit more holistically than just traffic.
The lighting too?
It can be, that can be a recommendation that comes out of it once you start seeing where your safety issues are. And then in tandem, Todd, too, with the Vision Zero, that's the other part we hope to do. So last year with COVID, the MPO was fantastic. We had to pivot a little bit and spend a lot more time on observing behavior, which ended up being just this great experience of being out on the trails and watching where there were lighting issues, crossing issues. And we got a lot of video footage for that last year. So part of that will probably, the Vision Zero, I think, is going to cover a lot more of the lighting, I believe, as well as the active transportation plan that might identify those gaps. They're going to work hand in hand over time as you build on it. So the cities will have quite a bit of engagement time for this active transportation plan and development, but nothing's happened yet. We got a little bit of groundwork to do.
So how do you need the city's files?
Beg your pardon?
How do you need the city's files for the plan and?
Well, I'm older. I just prefer everything printed. Tyndale will get with the MPO to request how they need all the meta files, the data files, and everything that goes with it. So they're not here to speak on that. And the task work orders are in front of you, but I don't believe they've been funded yet. So nothing has started yet, but you're going to be getting those requests, I think, to pull all that together. And you may have provided quite a bit for the LRTPs already that they have on that. But
not as it relates to the scope of services. So I noticed you're reviewing PUDs and things of that nature. So that's why I'm asking, how do you want our files? We've got some major developments that we're requiring trail networks throughout. I'm sure Zephyr Hills is. Newport Richie has a trail plan I'm sure that you guys are aware of since you helped out with the parks and everything else. So I just want to make sure that we're inclusive and we're not missing those gaps.
And nobody
become
started
policy
asking yet.
decisions.
Yep, nobody started asking. This is just to get us going. So how they want the files, how they're going to incorporate that will be Tyndale and Wally Blaine and Rob working with the MPO and all of the cities. And then my part will be more or less documenting the research to make sure we haven't missed a plan. So you're going to have the two going together, the written word as well as the technical files and pulling all that together. So we're just trying to use this time to get some background done for that. So that's fantastic to hear with the extra trails. And that is one of the things I'll need to know as well. And then Tyndale will be representing it, is where these trails are going, especially internally. And the active transportation plan, we need to focus in on the entire network. But the first cut will be all public roads and how they connect. And then anything we can find out about private, but we don't want to be responsible for getting the private just right. And having someone, but we do, as far as it connects, we'll make a dividing line, X 100 feet to that public road. If there's a sidewalk or a trail coming up, we'll want to document it, but
These are all public in the city.
to start. But eventually though, we need to put all the private in because that's how you're getting connected all the way around. So, and with drone technology, we're able to get quite a bit more now than we ever could, by putting it out there. So AECOM's been doing some drone shots for the MPO. But thank you for offering because you will be getting that call.
I'm trying to plan out how much we get to it.
Any other questions? Oh, Deborah, we definitely, because we're going to sit down and sort of.
CIP, yeah.
That's the list is long.
Yeah, I before the meeting today, in fact.
Yeah.
We tend to forget about that part because we always say CIP. Mm-hmm. We tend to forget about that part because we always say the CIP when we're talking relative. Mm-hmm.
Well, and we're working with our Pasco GIS, so some of those layers hopefully he might have. If not, we're going to go down that list. Yeah, again, and that's the whole purpose of this first phase is trying to just get all that data so we can see how to connect the dots and see where it needs to be. And just like Casey said, the private part we want too as well.
If you have it, we'll include it. We're trying to make sure we're not responsible for getting that right or wrong and start getting comments on all the private when we show maps. So it's going to be getting collected, but I'm not sure when we'll actually display it to have it be perfect or not. Only between now and June is just we're spending with COVID and budgeting. We thought we shouldn't wait to try to start collecting.
Yeah.
So the active transportation plan hasn't even officially gotten into your public participation plan. It really isn't a plan that can be done until that gets amended first, and we hope to do that by June. I'll be coming back to you with a draft of your public participation plan that's included. And then in July, you can really kick the effort off and get going. So the MPO decided not to wait and lose these next 2 or 3 months when we could be collecting and starting to build all of our libraries on what we need for it. So this is really the background for that. So yeah, Deborah, you're going to hear from me a lot on that. So thank you for that note.
Thank you, Casey. Both these task orders seem to make good sense. There's not any other comments or questions. I'll call for a motion. Well, let's start with the E.
Who is the project manager on this one, on the current one, the AECOM? You or?
On the current AECOM, VinCat, we have 2 that are currently under contract with for AECOM. That one is a staff augmentation, where we've just been helping Tania, and so forth until they could get a director and a planner in. And the other we have is that Vision Zero, phase 2, and that's me for those 2.
Okay, but this one
will be me for AECOM.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then Rob for the other.
How about the Tyndale Oliver? Who is the project manager on that one?
For Tyndale.
And Oliver.
For Tyndale will be Rob and Wally. Mm-hmm. Rob Kersey and Wally.
And Wally did our long range. So
You saw
he's
them when
got
they did the workshop, that Friday, that group. Yeah, Venkat, you know that group.
Any other comments of anybody that's online virtually on this? Hearing none, we'll call for a motion for AECom for the task order $49,971.25.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Cynthia. Cynthia, we'll start with you.
Cynthia Sparrow, aye.
Melanie Romagnoli, aye.
Todd Vandenberg, aye.
Venkat Vadikudi, aye.
Christine Hunter's aye. Kurt Scheibel, aye.
Thank you, Kurt. Yeah, item approved unanimously. We'll move on. Call for a motion on the Tyndale Oliver task order, $48,666.14.
Romagnoli, move to approve.
I'll second it.
Christine Hunter's aye.
Venkat Vadikudi, aye.
Todd Vandenberg, aye.
Melanie Romagnoli, aye.
Sparrow, aye.
Kurt?
Kurt Scheibel, aye. Had to make sure the last one did it.
Thank you, Kurt. Okay, items approved unanimously.
thank you.
I guess it's that time for a Techno Advisory Committee annual election of officers. I guess we have a chairman and a vice chairman. Certainly entertain any comments, input from anyone that's here or online for officers.
I think you're doing such a fantastic job, Todd, that, you're chair.
You are nominated.
Is there any other nominations?
I second the motion to keep the director as is, Kurt Scheibel.
Thank you, Kurt.
This seems very similar to last year when this happened. Well, I'll do that if I can. Well, I guess we'll. Is there a motion for that? Okay, there's been a motion.
I second it. Melanie.
Cynthia Sparrow, aye.
Melanie Romagnoli, aye.
Todd Vandenberg, aye.
Venkat Vadikudi, aye.
Christine Hunter's aye. Kurt Scheibel, aye.
I would like to have I know we have Debbie with us for another year at least. I hope. If I always like having the MPO staff. I think it's very helpful, whether it's chair, vice chair. So I'd like to start off with making a nomination for Debbie Bolduc for vice chair.
And this is Kurt Scheibel seconding.
Melanie Romagnoli, aye.
Todd Vandenberg, aye.
Wow.
Venkat Vadikudi, aye.
Christine Hunter's aye. Kurt Scheibel, aye.
Well, that's got to be a record, I think.
That was quick.
Well, having seen Debbie in the past, she's does a very good job. So I just have to say that she's like the next step up.
Absolutely. Okay, item 6 is we have status reports, presentations, and updates. Do we have someone for a presentation of, I guess this is a video?
So not yet. So the map. So
okay, map.
Non-motorized counters, FDOT has what they call a short-term program. Well, they'll lend us trail counters, counters for 2 weeks, and it helps their database. So we had 5 counters out for 2 weeks in February. Their counters, there were 2 counters and infrared counters. So we picked 5 places that we thought would give us good counts, and for reasons that we wanted some counts too, in the hopes that in the future we'll get long-term counters from FDOT or be able to purchase them ourselves. Well, those were the 5 locations we had. They're out. One was at the north side of Trilby Road. One was on the north side of 54. One was in Starkey Park. One was just on Suncoast out of Starkey Park, and one was north of 52. There was purposes for the reason of those locations, but we had them out and DOT picked them up. So we have some data. I'll be presenting that data to you hopefully in the next meeting or so. But it gave us a chance to see these locations if we want them to be long-term counter locations, and what kind of counters that we want to use in the future as well. So those were the counters. It was really fun. I enjoyed being out with Marlon, FDOT's contractor, to be able to see people and see how they're used. Counters can be positive and negative when it comes to trail counts, trust me. But these are the 5 locations, and hopefully in the next meeting, I can give you the data that came out of that. I have some raw data that he sent to me, but I haven't had to be able to drill it down just yet. But I can answer any questions you might have. I'm looking forward to hopefully in the near future where we can have what we call long-term counters. There is a long-term counter on the Suncoast Trail just a little bit north of the trailhead at 54. It's a streetlight counter. They're still setting it up. Hopefully they have counts from that location, hopefully in the near future as well.
For the location at 54
So it's actually just a little bit north of the trailhead right now. And Turnpike stuck that thing in without really having a lot of discussion with us because they wanted something on Suncoast. So the one at 52 was just north of 52. That was a short-term counter. I wanted something on the other side of 52 for that purpose. So I got good counts on the south side of 52, and I have counts of the north side of 52 for the purpose of that overpass. So there is a long-term counter that Turnpike put in. It's a streetlight counter that's just about 200 yards north of the trailhead. I can send a picture to you of it. December? Yeah. Yeah. And I haven't been able to get data out of anybody, so I don't know if it's working just yet. I'm still tracking that down.
You know if Hillsborough County has put any like where the Suncoast goes towards the upper Tampa Bay Trail?
Mm-hmm.
That would be nice to know who's coming in, who's coming out. Because a lot of people, as that UTVT trail connects that southward, you have a lot of people coming up too.
So I know that one of the locations that DOT had for their short-term counter was on the upper Tampa Bay Trail, but I do not know if it was on that piece that you're talking about. If you're talking the one that looks like Farm Road.
Yeah. Just 54 as you go south.
Yeah.
And you enter into Hillsborough. I mean, that goes all the way, past Roots Lake Fern, and then it goes down to Van Dyke, and then eventually it's going to connect even farther. So
I can check with Hillsborough County and see if they had a counter there. I know they had one on the upper Tampa Bay Trail, but I think it was the piece to the south of there. So.
It would just be interesting because a lot of people do that.
I built that trail, by the way.
Oh, really? It's beautiful.
Yeah, so.
I saw the counter.
So there's 2 of them. There's actually 2 counters at each location.
So is it registering cyclists and pedestrians, and does it register them?
So
people going out and coming back.
So there was 2 counters. There was an infrared counter and a tube counter. Okay. So infrared, I believe, can give you types of users. The tube counter it's a pressure thing. Now it can tell by speed, my understanding. So I haven't got into, there's formulas that you do based on, like example, a good one is the Starkey Wilderness Park. You know, pretty much, I would have to do a formula for that one because pretty much you would figure 75% or so are out and back. So that number, so each counter, you actually come up with a formula based on location. And that's usually done, you go out and visually watch, and then you come up with a formula based on that counter to kind of make it a little bit more accurate, so to speak. So, yeah. So the infrared, you probably can see, it was up on the post. So that one is the one you broke the line. The tube counters based on pressure, and one of the first things we do when we distract the data from it, it can tell you if something's going over it too fast. So if you get maybe golf carts or even vehicles and stuff going over it, it will show a percentage of something not being totally right. So haven't got that detailed. Yeah. Well, and it gives you a timestamp and everything, and I started looking at timestamps and weather, because again, weather's gonna, if it's pouring down rain and you see like 2 people, you know that's the reason why you only saw 2 people. So, but I'm looking forward to that because this is the only way we know, especially on our trails and multi-use paths, how many people are on them. So I'm looking forward to turning that raw data into some real numbers, because that's the only way you can really know how many people are out and about on our facilities.
Thank you, Tina. Any other comments or questions? Anybody online? Okay. Tina, anything more on spring forward or
So,
like to do?
Very excited to say we have a video that came out of our phase 1 Vision Zero that we actually used a lot of our video information to make a couple of different videos. So this one came out of some of those video tapings that we did during COVID where we couldn't do a lot of engagement. So it's coming out on our public information, and Casey can give you more details, but we're gonna have it on our county website. We've given it to Pasco Community Traffic Safety Team folks that hopefully will start getting it out. But it's our first real video that's gonna start getting out there to the public on our Vision Zero. And I'll let Casey do the rest here.
Go ahead and run it, and then I'll kind of give you some background of where you hope to see it, if you don't mind. Very short, and initially when we were collecting a lot of this video footage last year is when COVID broke out. So you'll see those are MPO staff in it, AECOM staff, everyone kind of, whoever was comfortable getting together at the beginning of last March. Initially we had really were targeting the school board because of the accident. And then as time has gone by in the next year, and I know Ben Cat and Deborah met with us and gave us a lot of good ideas, and Deborah was one about the walking, for kids in the dark, is really with this time change and all of the new cyclists and walkers, it's really for everyone, even on a Sunday morning. We were initially thinking it was Monday school. So we made sure March 14th is the date that you switch it over to. It's for everyone out. PIO has approved it, and it is on the Pasco TV right now, running on a loop. And then they will put out tomorrow an actual social media press release, do hashtags, they'll get it out, Pasco Proud, time change, and then they're gonna do it again on the 14th. So we're sharing it with anyone. We purposely didn't really brand it till the end for anyone that might need to use it. So we've given it to FDOT, community, Pasco County Community Safety Team, a bike walk Tampa Bay. I asked about it yesterday to try to get it out this week and remind people of what date. And the fact that everyone's out Sunday now as well. We always thought it was Monday, but it's really all the walkers and the cyclists in Pasco County are everywhere for that. So we hope to be doing a lot more of these. You got to keep them short. That's what we're learning. Our original ones were a lot longer, and you can't do that and do Instagram and put them out.
Available for resharing.
Yes. Yeah, so they'll tweet. I can't show you. I don't think there's, so on the Pasco County, there's the media and communications for Pasco County is just fabulous. It's come so much in the last year. So if you look at Pasco TV, it's running on a loop there, but they'll share it with you. And then when they put it out, they hope you will retweet it and share it. So it'll be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It'll go out on all the different platforms to be shared. And then I can send the link to anyone. PIO's approved us to pass it on to anyone who'd like the link. You just download it and can use it that way. So.
Casey, great video. City of Zephyr Hills now has a PIO. Stephanie's her name, and I'd like to get a copy of that and share that with her.
That's wonderful,
and
Todd. Yeah.
We'll certainly get that out.
Yeah, we can share that. Well, Tina's approval. PIO said it's good to go. Anyone, because it goes for everyone, and we tried not to make it just branded in the beginning that it was the MPO or Pasco intentionally. And part of last year with Division Zero, as I said, Tina and Tania, and they really pivoted and said, Casey and Channing, get out there. And that's what we did last year. We have so much video footage all over the county. We're happy to go out. We can do drone shots where we have a licensed drone operator. And as long as he can get the license to be out there, which he just does the paperwork, we can go out and get some footage for that to show in videos and kind of diagram things out. We can do so much more. Like you said, Todd, it's amazing from 2 and 3 years ago to get this material out. So glad you guys are interested. That's what we hope to do with it. And it was Deborah's idea and VinCat's idea. I have to give you guys credit from last year. This is what you wanted to go out for in the dark and lighting. So
thank you to all of y'all.
And that's where this came from. We know that when this time change, particularly spring forward, the fatality rate for some reason just kind of jumps this next week or two. So we really wanted something out to kind of remind people, hey, it's dark in the morning. The week before it wasn't dark in the morning when you went out. So that's the whole purpose of this. Based on crash statistics, we know, unfortunately, something happens when time changes. So that's why we really wanted something out, especially with COVID. Everybody's so out of whack on top of it that we wanted something, hey, pay attention. And unfortunately, we had that fatality last year, that first week of time change. So,
and a lot of over in Trinity, there's a lot of development now getting closer to the actual high school. So a lot of kids that used to be busers are now walkers. So we've got a lot more walkers in our community. We never had it before because it was no places close by. So all those kids would be walking in the dark.
And this afternoon, Tina, if you can share the list of everyone's email from TAC and CAC, were asking me for it as well. Todd, Melanie with the Zephyr Hills Chamber asked for it from CAC. They're going to put it out as well. Good. And so I'll get everyone's email to do that and forward the link. Love to share it.
Any of it correlate to spring break too, maybe?
I don't know what's happening with spring breaks, with schools.
And they're different. And
it's about the same week usually.
Yeah, it's next week.
Is it next week for Pasco?
Left this is it can be used.
And in my case, now that my son's in college, they took spring break away. So that was always like the college thing. So they had them start 3 weeks later and there's no spring break. So I'm a little bit out of sync of paying attention to it and who's, how they're getting to school with the buses and so forth. But that will be really good timing for that as well. Mm-hmm. The 14th. So they check at 2 a.m. Sunday morning. So when you get up Sunday, it will be an hour forward. So it'll be dark. So 6 will be 7. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Okay. Thank you, Casey. Great. Well, I guess that kind of appropriate leads us into the next item. Do we have any CMP task force issues to bring up?
I don't have any on the list here from Tania.
Okay, thank you. Kurt, how about any PCPT updates? Anything from you?
Yeah, we have a real big one going on. We finally got our Echo Lane new software for our paratransit service out on the road. So it's out and working and people are using it to drive around. What we've done is just got the basic system up. The next step is to get the custom rollout to both the website so customers can log on and book their trips that way. And also the phone and web app that will allow you to see where your bus is that's coming to pick you up. So you'll get right now, people are getting notified when a bus is on its way. And we also have the night before calls. And then when you get that, to say I'm sitting at the, dialysis center, and it says, hey, your bus is on the way. You can go onto the app and see exactly where the darn bus is and driving towards you. So you can see it driving down the street just like you would like Grubhub or Uber or anybody else. So it's a pretty neat little app. We'll be getting that out. Probably take about a month to roll out, and then we'll start doing some advertisement. Other than that, it's just budget season, as Debbie can tell you, and the lovely 1.2 strategic plan stuff that we're doing for the county too. So when you sit on two of those, it takes away a lot of your time. So it's a good time to do, but that's where we're at right now. Other than that, not much going on in PCPTville.
Well, it's funny. Audrey and I were driving to the meeting today. We're going down 7th Street, and that boy missed his bus. He could have used that app. He was running full force and couldn't catch the bus. Few obscene gestures and.
Well, to let you know, we just put it's in procurement. I just got the first round of questions back to do it on the 6th Street side. So we're working on both sides of it. It's all funded, all ready to go. It's just got to go through the procurement process, as Debbie can tell you, can sometimes take a little bit of time, but we're working on it. So moving forward, pulling it into the 21st century with Buck Rogers.
That's great. Thank you, Kurt. Okay, we got a bylaw update discussion. I know we've had some discussion about meetings and the format because of COVID, and do we have some items to bring up, Tina, on that? I didn't either.
Yeah, and what I'll do is
yeah, that's what I remember.
Well, and there's some legislation trying to figure out how to do with the quorums and everything currently that will probably affect those bylaws. So at the governor's level, so it might not do any good. I know the CAC, that was the conversation. There's no use changing the bylaws until we know how the governor's going to handle these virtual meetings, hybrids anyway. So I'm not. Well, everybody's having the same problem across the state as far as reaching quorums with this hybrid quorums. So that's the discussion going on at the state level too. And I think again, everybody's in that same boat. So unless he changes how that's going to work out, there's no use changing our bylaws until we know what they need to be changed to. So I know that was discussion at the CAC meeting and the MPO.
I remember that, but I don't know if we were going to get copies of the bylaws and we can take.
I'll make sure you get them, the bylaws, and you guys can look at them and kind of go from there. Okay.
Maybe we can follow up and see what the projected timetable is on what the state's going to be doing for hybrid meetings.
And then I'll see if there's any follow up on the state level on it.
Okay, thank you, Tina. We also have this Tampa Bay Challenge, Love to Ride. Casey, you're back up. He looks excited about this.
Well, Deborah's going to enjoy this. So Casey Kersey with AECOM. Tina came into my life at a time where I was not a cyclist, and Deborah and I have talked about that a lot. I'm a pedestrian, and a swimmer, and I'm learning to be a cyclist. So in those counts that you saw, Tina said, Case, can you help me get out to some of them? Let's make sure that they're still functioning. And so, yes, I tried to walk to the one out there at Starkey Wilderness Park and 52, and he was like, Case, I'm like, all right. So I now have an e-bike, and she got us to try e-bikes out. Shannon goes out with us, but he doesn't need an e-bike, but I do. I have a lot of physical issues that I can't ride a regular bike and count on my ability to get back. I am loving it. So it's a pedal assist. And so Tina had me join this. So I am now in the Love to Ride Challenge for March. And I'm going out with the women's groups. And so yesterday was a Temple Terrace history tour that I just really enjoyed. I had never gone through Temple Terrace to that level and seen all the historical markers. And then we've done a tour of Oldsmar. I think they're going to work on Tina to do one coming up for all of Pasco that they mentioned, and get people out to see our trails. I did want to tell you, before I forget, and I'll come back to this, on March 21st here in Northeast Hills is the Fungo Ride. Is that how you say it? Okay.
Grand Fondue.
So it's coming on a Sunday.
Sorry, do we have a map of that yet, where they're gonna tour?
It's online. It's
I'll
on their
send you those
website.
links.
Yeah.
Tina sent that to me.
I can send it, yeah.
Yeah, and there's there's 35 mile, a 55 mile, and 100 mile loop. Of course, I'm not going to ride it with my e-bike. I'm not there. I've only had it 3 weeks, but I did sign up to volunteer. So I'm doing race setup that morning and take down so I can see who the racers are that come out, and I can do March 21st this month on Sunday. Goes all the way to Brooksville. The 100 mile goes all the way to Brooksville, but it's riding all. So Tina and I went out a week ago and looked at all the new signs that have been put in. I was out there today because I wanted to see if Sharber was starting to go. March 15th, they're going to start resurfacing, but Sharber is not on the route. I checked to make sure it's not on the route. It's Darby, St. Joe, I looked at all the things. So that is coming up. And for outreach, I'll be out there at least to seeing who's there, hear what the cyclists are saying from that thing. But so many signs have been put up, Deborah. It was fantastic since we did that study 3 or 4 years ago. Share the road, the curves, and so forth are out there for that. But we'll send the links to everybody because, like I said, in my case, I signed up to volunteer, get more t-shirts for that. So I'll be out in the morning and in the evening when it ends out of San Antonio for that. And you can sign up to do a SAG stop on Lake Iola to see who's coming through and be able there for drinks and so forth on that stuff. So with this, the reason it really makes sense to tell you about this, in addition to the fact that I'm now learning to ride a bicycle again, these come with so many educational tools. There's very short videos on rules of the road. I've learned a lot in the last 6 months because as a pedestrian, I see the road system much differently than as a cyclist. So Tina and I have been talking about that, or what the rules are of the road, how it works. I listened to the National Bike Summit last week and got great information on that and where it's going, because it's about safety now. More than just cycling or walking, it's how do we do it safely, which is a wonderful way that it's being seen now versus just can we get a trail. We really are looking at it as a true mode for that. And the e-bikes are coming into that. Like I said, with the pedal assist, I keep it on the highest, so I didn't break a sweat yesterday with the ladies, but I'm also not worried that if I go on a trip, I can't get back. And that was always my concern for my own physical issues. So I think the e-bikes are becoming a pretty big topic for all of us when we talk about the trails. A true electric vehicle that's completely electric and no pedal assist is not allowed on the trails, only ones that require.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So because they go too fast and it's a control thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Even when we have a thing in our neighborhood, and yes, I've been out seeing how fast I can get mine to go, and it clocks up, and as fast as I can get it is 20 miles per hour, and that's pretty fast for me. But I think 25 miles per hour is pretty much the common sense.
Yep.
I don't think it's 25. It's 20. Nell's Trail is 20. So in the case with a pedal assist, you're not going to get it very rarely up to 20 miles per hour, or if you do, you've got a short due. So it's maintaining that control around other people using the trail for that. So that'll be some wording to kind of work out through the TAC, how to represent the vehicles correctly. And Tina wants to do an educational spot on that with the signs. And how do you use them correctly? And of course, you know, the other thing that comes up with that. So with this Love to Ride, what I've enjoyed, it's free to sign up. There is it's all March. And then if you take even a 10-minute ride, they clock you in for free. I'm enjoying it because I'm watching all the training videos on it. And I am relearning a lot. And it has cost, so I think it's worth even signing up for that, or maybe passing that out to your cities for there, because it's good through the end of March. Also to let them know that's coming from Northeast Hills, to see who the riders are out there. And we'll share whatever we've got for that coming along. But I've enjoyed it, so I've watched all the training.
I know a lot more on the trail. And I think the education component is needed in electric bikes because it's potentially because of the serious riders and how people treat their riding experience on an e-bike is different than a 14-wheeler bike or a trail rider. So you have different people with different kinds of mindsets and their perceptions about
their personal space.
So yeah, and there's different. So I think that everybody needs to be educated about how everybody uses it. So from the e-bike perspective, from the trail perspective, curious cycling.
No, I agree.
Well, and that's why we went out. I, as an educator, especially a cycling instructor, I really wanted to know, is there anything major differently with electric bikes? Of course, they're really popular. And so we went out and test rode them on the Sun Coast, and they're true cycle assist, pedal assist. So, and that's one of the things that Casey just mentioned, that we're going to
if I'm not
do
pedaling,
some
it's not
rules
going.
of the trail.
I have to be pedaling to get that, and it just
my
gives
bike is
Yeah.
same way.
it gives
And
me
that's
such
what's
a boost.
only legal on the trails. There are different classes. Oh, yeah.
So I'm serious cyclist, truly laser focused. And I live with them, so I know I live that I
And you hear him whine the electric bike passes him, huh?
I'm riding with somebody who's serious. So I'm very serious. So when you see somebody on an e-bike, it's really kind of useful.
But that's true.
They kind of, it's the,
Yeah.
the little experience. They kind of lose sight of others.
I think she's training me. I'm thinking.
Well, that's true, again, with a lot of folks that are getting on their bikes because of COVID. A lot of people are out for the first time on bikes anyway, whether it be an e-bike or a regular bike, is educating all those new users. So, and that's what we're talking about.
We had an experience that day where Tina, even on my e-bike, I cannot keep up with her. I just want you to all know. But we were coming back, and sure enough, a mom who had 2 children, and I think they might have been 4 and 6, she was teaching them how to ride their bikes without the training wheels for the first time on the Starkey Wilderness Trail. And
Which happens every day.
They were out in the middle of all that traffic, and the little girl got going, and Tina kept up with her. We had to go get the little girl and get her to wait for her mom because she didn't want to stop. She couldn't believe she was actually going, and she's not going to stop. She didn't know how to stop. And yet the mom's still back with the little boy. And it was in the middle of the trail, back pretty far into the park.
And we've also seen parents out there that are teaching them how to correctly, and notifying somebody to come on the class, rider, where to ride, or not to go up yet.
And I'd like to use all of you to be in these meetings as well, and your experiences, because that's going to make it even more your county, your cities, to do that on your trails. We can come anywhere and do footage and collect it. That's what we're doing. Kurt's still on there. We can do of course, the bikes putting on the buses for that, because they'll be really used to get to those trails. So that's our chance this year. We hope to do a lot of that and to get the input from the folks that you're seeing. Just like you said, And I'm loosey-goosey. I'm just so happy that I'm riding and I'm going forward and it doesn't hurt. I'm just so happy to be out there that I am really enjoying my ride more than thinking about how to be the best cyclist that I can be. So that's why I keep watching all those training videos and learning something each time with it. So we'll pass that on, and we'll also pass on the fact that the race on to the cops.
And the bike challenge is about getting people out on their bike. It's not about doing long miles. In fact, it's more about just getting out and doing those shorter rides, whether it be for errands. Yeah, so, I mean.
And that way they're tracking who's paying attention. Yesterday, there were people who came up who saw that link and came up from Sarasota to do the ride at Paris because they're on that challenge for the month. And you earn badges, and I've got my husband now, Miles, running the bike going around. So it's really, I told Tina, it equals freedom for me because I never really thought I'd be a cyclist to have that option in my life. So I'm enjoying it. She and Channing do it every day. Channing's out on his bike. It's new for me.
I wondered 10 years ago at a TAC meeting if we had this much discussion on trails and bikes.
I know, see how far that's come.
Oh, believe me. In 97, when we published the bike ped models, a lot of engineers laughed at it. But I'm an engineer and a planner.
Mm-hmm.
But as an engineer and a planner, we developed this model the first time. A lot of engineers laughed at us.
Yeah.
And you had the safety summit this last year for District 7 and 1 this past week, and it was all about that, the interaction of the trails and giving people alternatives to riding. So, but this was just showing some of the courses. These will all be examples we'll look at to try to make it Pasco specific as well. And we'll pass that on. I don't know if there's another slide after that. So, and there's the Love to Ride. You can sign up for that. And it is free. And the other thing is you can track folks, to see how they're doing as well.
Thank you, Casey.
Thank you.
Great stuff. Okay. We're down to TAC member, discussion, comments. I'll start off with a couple items, just like to share.
Chair has to be at the end. I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry?
Chair has to be at the end.
Has to be at the end? We have a couple of development projects that are moving forward on Chansey Road, South Side, and trail related. Our city multipurpose trail plan shows a trail on Chansey Road. And it's a part of our preliminary discussions with the Industrial Corridor Master Plan and with some of our long-term opportunities, we'll call them, for one of the scenarios that we showed, a biking center, kind of like Santos in Ocala. We kind of would like to think a little longer term and think about having that trail on the south side of Chansey Road. And even though San Pasco Park is currently on the opposite side of the street, so I think we've been sharing that with some of the county planning staff, and we actually have a county meeting, I believe, next week with Tina and some of the others. It's going to be virtual. I'd really like to, and it's fine to do it virtually, but I really like to get you out, Tina, and whoever else from the county to share our, I know we've shared our city multi-purpose trail plan with the county, but just to go out and look at some ideas that we have for trails. We've been talking internally about some ideas that we have, but this meeting will get it started, and of course those two development projects have to get county right-of-way use permits, and so it'll include trail, and we want to look at serious access management for not getting too many driveway cuts on the industrial corridor, Chansey Road. So we'll be trying to work with your staff on that about those types of elements. I know the county had meetings with the DOT staff about the ACER process for State Road 56 extension from 301 further to the east. And I guess they're just showing some of the alternatives that are being looked at, everything from shooting down County Line Road all the way over to US 98 and a couple alternatives north of that, and then one alternative just being going up North 301 to Chansey Road, up to County Road 54, and then out to 98. So I know they met with the county staff, I guess, and they're meeting with us next Friday, or this Friday, I believe. So we're kind of anxious to see that process. You know, we originally applied for that legislative appropriation, try to improve corridor access between County Road 54, 98, and State Road 56. So we sort of at the city level have a preference to see it go that alignment, but you know, we're open to having that discussion with county planners and traffic folks as well. So it's been a long process to get through that ACER process, but I guess they finally got some information to share with us. I see some activity at Chansey. Well, let's see, Morris Bridge and Chansey. I don't know. Is there a project going on there right now? Intersection improvement? Do we know? Well, it's really needed. So it'll be hopefully some turn lanes and. Yeah. Great. That's really needed.
We are including the outbound to northbound.
Oh, great. That was my next question. Yeah. Great. Yeah. Well, it's really needed. That whole corridor is just exploding, of course, and it's been bad for a long time. Zephyr Lakes, that residential development behind the Publix in Zephyr Hills, we have a county right-of-way use permit from that Zephyr Lakes. There's a new opening onto Wire Road. We kind of shared with the county staff that we know that road is very substandard, and I guess as part of the county right-of-way use permit, they'll do a substandard road analysis, and it's really needed. I know there's a plan to resurface Wire Road, and I don't know, that's this year. I knew it was coming up, but certainly anything that the developer needs to do, I think should be part of that substandard, road analysis, and, maybe they contribute to that, however. Because some of those lanes are very narrow. I went out there and measured some of them lanes when that development was being done. Less than 9 feet sometimes for a traffic lane, and no shoulder or sidewalks or trails. We're going to have a trail as part of our development plan on the west side of Wire Road, but just keep everyone in the loop on that. And then finally, Tania is not here today, but I know one of the reasons Audrey came, Deborah, is that we're interested in applying for a SIGP for the intersection at Simons Road and Fort King. And Jensen, I know if Jensen is still on, he's been involved with us too, but I know there's one particular question that's come up, whether, I guess it's called a CEI, right? Whether a CEI would be mandated, required for a SIGP grant. Because we know that can be very expensive. When we're dealing with that right now at 301 and Pretty Pond, it was a couple $100,000. And but
we want to include the CEI so you're going to call out
okay.
I don't know what's going on, but Debbie, your microphone's not working. We can't hear you.
Oh.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead and include construction and CEI costs. And you may want to do 15% of the construction cost. I don't know what your cost is, but you're going to request both construction and CEI.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That was a question that we had. And I know we got a short timetable. I think it's this week to submit the applications, is it?
Well, I knew Audrey was trying to get a hold of me, but last week was crazy busy and we were in the middle of budget. What's that?
I said we were really busy as well.
If you have other questions, I'll be here for a few minutes.
Okay, that's all that I have. Any other?
No, I just think that, I think the next couple of years planning wise are going to be challenging. We're seeing, a lot of people wanting to come to Florida. The development pressure isn't going to go away. We're seeing moratoria all throughout the Tampa Bay area, city of Tampa, Hillsborough County, spreading into Pasco County a little bit. And so I think that, the transportation network and the alternative modes of transportation are going to continue to play a really increasingly important role. And I just think that, the development pressure isn't going to go away. And so, it's going to be our jobs to help manage all that growth in a safe manner. So it's just my 2 cents for, I think the next couple of years are going to continue to be challenging.
Absolutely. Melanie?
Adair? I thought that there was some evaluation done at that location. And I don't remember if there was a would have Essen have been, who would have been involved in that? Somebody from planning and development. I remember Essen being involved in something. Essen was involved in something out there at that location. So maybe.
Ellen, you said the city had a request. Is that what you said?
It could be worse, it could be one.
Debbie, you have anything, or Venkat? Any other comments? Okay.
One is that
Well, that's the one that we're doing. That's the one that we're managing on behalf of the city. And so they just did, so I haven't regarding that. They did finish the technical memorandum or the traffic report. So maybe something in there that talks about a signal. So all that's being finalized, and they're coordinating on the for public meetings. it's gonna be in it, because the final report is in May. I guess I can get back to you. What's that?
Okay, any other comments, information from anybody else online? Okay, hearing none.
Wait, Kurt's here. Hey, has there been any word on when the Divergent Diamond's gonna be finished? Unfortunately, we're getting in too many accidents in that area, and I just need to know when it's kind of gonna be over. Does anybody have anything on it or heard anything?
22 is the timeline right now.
FY22, you said?
May of 2022.
Next year. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, okay. Just wanted to double check in. The other thing is I don't know if anybody told you, but we have a new MPO director. I don't know when it started, but they do have a new MPO director, so we may see them at the next meeting.
His name is Carl. I can't pronounce his last name.
I can't, Carl is all I remember also. But in case anybody didn't know, I just wanted to bring that out too. And so other than that, you all have a great time and see you in 2 months, right?
Yeah, I guess our next meeting will be at Newport Richie.
Yeah. One last thing to be is be prepared to have no more virtual hybrid. So, because that was discussed last week, that maybe that we may be like Texas, going back to normal operations.
Real? Oh, I hadn't heard that. When did you hear that?
In our LEAP meeting, it was brief. And they don't have a timeline yet, but just start being prepared on that, just to give you a heads up. So, if nothing's in stone, I would watch the meeting, the BCC tomorrow. It will be a very, I think you'll hear some good words maybe in there from some people.
I see the next meeting date is May 10th. Is that right? Or is it April?
No, we switched to every
6
other month.
months, 6 times in a year now, not every
I
month.
thought it was every other month.
Right, so we're in March. Hey, you have to give her some slack. It's budget season.
Okay, I
haven't started the time change yet.
I'm still in February. Okay.
I'm still in 2020.
That's all I've got.
Yeah. Funny.
Well, we're adjourned unless you want a motion for adjournment. We good? Okay. Thank you, everyone.